Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It is 7 o'clock, Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And half of the congregation or more, half the congregation or more is still sitting out there in the lobby. You need to play some get in here music. I just realized I'm on YouTube putting my drops in. Okay. Let's do what they do, the Orthodox do in New York and Israel, is just start chanting Shabbos. Shabbos, 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 Shabbos. You made it sound ominous. It's supposed to be lovely. What's that? We've got some here. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Oh, you can take the whole box. That's why we keep them up here real convenient for you. If anybody else needs a Kleenex, that's why they're here. So, no, we used to keep, there are some in the back of the room. All right, those are for you. This is the rabbinical Kleenex, apparently. So this is the first Shabbat that we're gathering in April, and Amory established this new tradition where we celebrate all of the birthdays, and there's a lot of them, so I'm going to read them very quickly. Happy birthday to Olga Spenny, Carolyn Trapp, Helen Foreman, Sheldon Halpern, Judy Bobrow, Sherry Buckziger, Nina Robb, Angela Skrinsky, Chuck Rose, Bruce Tabashnik, Stephen Blum, Jeff Broxmeyer, Jerry Zeldes, Edith Broida, Susan Winchell, Dan Gaber, Jessica Gardone-Rose, Barbara Bernstein, Alan Gale, Sandra Altman, Carolyn Greenberg, and Adele Weisberg. I know all those people. Who would ever think I would know so many people that had a birthday in April? Our readers tonight are Bev Shapiro, Howard Himmelho, Ruth Kadish, Marty Bernstein, and Richard McBaines. Thank you all. And we are going to start with our first reading. Arthur, if you will. Shabbat Shalom. As humanistic Jews, we honor the spirit of our people's devotion to Shabbat. It is a weekly opportunity to affirm who we are and what connects us. It is our time to pause and recognize the value of our Jewish identity and the meaning it brings to our lives. Whether we choose to work or to rest, whether we spend the day alone, with family, or in community, Shabbat invites us to set time apart, to celebrate our Jewishness, and to renew our sense of belonging to one another through our shared story. I'd like to invite Mike and Gail Whitty. Mike will be speaking in a little while. They'll be lighting the candles, and they also, in a lovely gesture, are sponsoring tonight's Oneg Shabbat.
Baruch haor ba'olam, Baruch haor ba'adam, Baruch haor ba'shalom, ba'shalom, Baruch haor, Baruch haor ba'shalom.
symbol of peace. Our ancestors called it a taste of the world to come. The peace that they created for themselves on Shabbat inspired them with hopes of a future heavenly redemption. They yearned for a time when tranquility would prevail throughout the world. It may have been a far-off dream, but it gave them comfort nonetheless. Today we understand that if we desire such a world, it must come through our own work. Perhaps Shabbat can remind us of that. Shabbat Shalom. May we all enjoy a Sabbath of peace.
Shalom Aleichem, Ohavei Shalom, Shomerei Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Rodefei Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Boechem b'shalom, Avei Shalom, Serchem l'shalom. Miyom zeh leyamim habayim, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Ohavei Shalom, Shomerei Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Rodefei Shalom, Shalom Aleichem.
The psalmist wrote, "Live with integrity, do what is right, and speak the truth without deceit.
Have no slander upon your tongue. Do no evil to others. Do not mistreat your neighbor.
Spurn a contemptible person, but honor those who live with respect.
Endeavor to keep the promise once made, even though it may be difficult for you.
Do not use money or power to abuse others.
Make these deeds your own, and you will set an example throughout your days."
Al shlosha devarim ha'olam kayam. 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 Al ha'emet ve'al ha'din ve'al ha'shalom ha'shalom. Al ha'emet ve'al ha'din ve'al ha'shalom ha'shalom. Al shlosha devarim ha'olam kayam. 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 Hashalom, hashalom, hashalom.
So said the ancient Jewish philosopher Kohelet, I applied my mind to know and search out, to seek understanding and an explanation of things. I sought to find words of delight and what is correctly written. I sought words of truth. Understanding is a greater stronghold to the wise than 10 rulers that are in a city. Blessed are those who seek words of truth. Out of the universe, source of our lives, we developed the power of mind and its quest for life's meaning. Yet knowledge is not received as a gift. We must search it to attain understanding.
Sharim la shalom, niftach lanu v'navovam. Ele sharim la shalom, niftach lanu v'navovam. Niftach lanu sharet tzedek v'chesed v'rachamim. Niftach lanu sharet tzedek v'chesed v'rachamim.
Let us strive to lead loving, compassionate lives with our hearts, with our wisdom, and with our actions. Let these be the ideas that we inscribe in our innermost heart. May we practice them day and night, teaching them diligently to our children through our words and especially through our deeds, so that coming generations shall learn to revere and celebrate life. My strength is in me and in you, and in you. Where is my strength? My strength is in me and in you, and in you.
In the pursuit of a just world, may we hold fast to the ideals that give life its deepest meaning. Among these are the courage to hope, even when hope is scarce, to dream of peace, even when surrounded by uncertainty. Though the path to peace may be long, let us never lose sight of it. May we remember that peace is not only the absence of struggle, but the fullness of life that blossoms from justice, security, and compassion. Wherever there are struggles to achieve such a peace, let wisdom always guide actions. And may each of us aspire to be a vessel of peace, always carrying it in our hearts and minds, even when we seek to protect that which we hold dear. May the world we leave behind be one that reflects our highest ideals: freedom, understanding, and enduring harmony among all people.
Nase shalom ba'olam, nase shalom aleinu, ve'akol ha'olam ve'imru shalom. Nase shalom ba'olam, shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'akol, ve'akol ha'olam ve'imru shalom, shalom. Nase shalom ba'olam, nase shalom aleinu, ve'akol ha'olam ve'imru shalom. Nase shalom ba'olam, shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'akol, ve'akol ha'olam ve'imru shalom, shalom.
In this community where we find strength and common purpose, we turn our minds and hearts toward all those who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who suffer pain of the body or spirit, those who are lonely, and those who have been wronged. Tonight, our well wishes are extended to these beloved members of our community, to Lee Bricker, Susan Lipson, and Jim Walker, and to anyone else whom you'd like to add to that list as we go around the room. Anybody on this side, Jerry? Anybody? Yes. We miss anybody at all? Mark? Anybody else? Sorry, Richard. May all who suffer know that they are not alone, that we are there. May they be healed quickly. May they experience a complete recovery, a refuah shlema, the renewal of their bodies and the renewal of their spirits.
Mekom hakoat betochenu, mekorot habracha mevrotenu. May the source of strength that dwells so deep within us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Shalom. Mekom hakoat betochenu, mekorot habracha mevrotenu. May those in need of healing know refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Shalom.
In memoriam, we are but sojourners in existence. Great and small, celestial bodies and humans are born, live, and die. The universal decree that every journey in existence must end cannot be stayed. May our earthly sojourn bring us the wisdom to accept this common destiny with tranquility and peace. Thus will we find in the recesses of our being strength and consolation when the life of a dear one ends and a link is broken in the chain of love and friendship that binds us together. Every being walks in the valley of the shadow of death, yet even on days of darkness, we can find the path that leads us back to life.
Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every people and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We recall now our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. Tonight, our congregation mourns the recent death of Stephen Stern, beloved husband of Ellen Bush. Yeh zichro baruch. As we also observe the yard sites of these beloved members of our community and their dear ones, of Lawrence Altman, Yaffa Balgley, Robert Berman, Rose Bricker, Rosalie Bieber Brown, Francis Burke, Arlene Bernstein, Dorian Shalom, Max Hirsch, Paul Himmelho, Fred Kellman, Milton Luria, Richard S. Lutz, Ralph Master, Adrienne Mendelson, Ben Pivnik, Saul Plafkin, Martha Reiter, Celia Roth, Benjamin Jacob Roast, Helen Schernitt, Lydia Bandy, Karna Slatker, Josephine Walker, Max Weinstock, and Lawrence Weisberg. As we did earlier for those who are ill, if there's a name that you'd like to share whose memory you keep alive tonight. Anybody else on this side? Yes, Bev. Bev? Thanks. Anybody else that we missed in the back, on the side? We say Yehi Zichram Livracha. May their memories provide us with a sense of blessing and indeed of comfort as we face the world in their absence. If you can do so comfortably, oops, wrong slide, next one. Okay, we'll go back to that one, but we have, might come up. If you can do so comfortably, please rise as together we will recite our humanistic interpretation of Kaddish. Nit Gadal, V'nit Gadash, Beruach Ha'adam. Let us dignify and ennoble all people in the spirit of our shared humanity. Let us acclaim the preciousness of life. Let us show gratitude for life by approaching it with reverence. Let us embrace the whole world, even as we wrestle with its parts. Let us each in our own way take up our share in serving the world and seeking truth. May our commitment to life help us to strengthen healing of spirit and peace of mind. May justice and peace permeate and comfort the house of Israel and all those who dwell on earth. And let us say, Ken Yehi, may it be so. Please be seated. Okay, we'll go back to that black slide now. There we go. Just a few announcements before we have the honor of hearing from Mike tonight. And they're in my phone because Audrey sent them to me. Hi, Jeff. Oh, you don't need to hear that part. Okay. So, next week, we will be hearing from, this was not well, this was in yours too, but just to remind you, next week we'll be hearing from Molly Reeser, who is a new member of our congregation, and she's also the director of this wonderful camp for children with illnesses called Camp Casey. You've been seeing it in the newsletter for a very long time now. The list of things that we collected, and Audrey's got it right there, is both in the newsletter. We collected it for Super Supper originally, I believe, or something like that. Super Supper was the day of service. We did it for the day of service for the lunch making. In any case, they still need all that stuff. So please look at the list and bring it in. And I know some of you already did tonight. The following week, which will be the 24th, is our Society for Humanistic Judaism Shabbat. And that means that all the leaders will be here from around the country, from around the continent, because also up in Canada we'll have representatives coming down from there. Up from there? I'll never say it right here. And we want to make sure we have a good contingent too. So please plan on coming to that one. It's an opportunity too to hear from a very well-known individual in the Jewish and educational world, Randy Weingarten, who was famously the head of AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, and is married to a rabbi. So that's always very special, is it not, Arthur? And also a gay rabbi. So she'll be here, and she'll be presented with a Defender of Freedom Award by the Jews for a Secular Democracy, which is an initiative of the Society for Humanistic Judaism. So it'll be a very, very exciting weekend, and I hope that you can join us then. I've also been asked to announce the Ukrainian dance performance on May 3rd at 2 o'clock. There'll be an afterglow. The money raised by the ticket sales, beyond the expenses, will go to Ukrainian charities, orphanages, and medical facilities. And children are free for that event. So I think that was it. I think I covered everything. No, Mark?
Yeah, I have a concert. My trio is performing here Sunday, April 26th.
Well, there you go.
Flyers out in the lobby. I think the flyers also posted on.
All right, well, you got to get me that for the newsletter, and then we'll put it in there too. I didn't get one of those yet. Okay, so that's great. With
we're having the great Detroit vocalist Shahida Nurullah will be singing the Great American Songbook, and we've got Cliff Monier playing piano.
what time is it at?
Shahida, I performed here with Shahida.
Mark, what time does it begin?
1 p.m.
Okay. So we do have a little conflict. Some of you will be going to the Jews for a Secular Democracy thing, but if you're not going to that, because there's something at noon that day, a fundraiser, but if you're not going to that, please try to come to this because it sounds great. Sunday the 26th. Sunday the 26th. No, right. The JFASD is doing a fundraiser at noon elsewhere, and that will be in this week's newsletter too. But most of you are not going to that, so you should come to this. Unless you're going to be at the ballpark or something like that, which is also a very good excuse for not coming to our things. Yes, Bev? That's on the 24th. Friday night the 24th, our SHJ, annual SHJ Shabbat, because that's when they have their big meeting, their big national in-person meeting. So I have written many a biography or introduction of Mike, Dr. Detroit. I almost said Dr. Detroit over the years. I remember when I met you, and it was in the back when Socrates used to meet here in person, and somebody said, you have to come meet Dr. Detroit. And I swear I was expecting a DJ, somebody that was going to be back there like spinning the records. And then when I met you, you were not a DJ, but I did have the opportunity to learn from you that day and every other time that I've had since. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that Gail is a very, very big part of this team, and I know is part of your strength too. But I want you to know, Gail, you're also part of our strength. Thank you. So we learn every time. And tonight Mike will be talking about a topic called aging into saging. It's also the title, and I had forgotten that, of a very important book by Zalman Schachter. And it's a wonderful opportunity that we try to take advantage of every year to hear you give us some learning. And especially as many of us are entering that time of life where we would like to be sages, please show us how. Please welcome our friend, our fellow congregant, Mike Whitty.
Well, here's the book, Aging into Saging, A Profound New Vision of Growing Older by Zalman Schachter Shalomi. I've done his workshops and given this talk before and can do more with my life and encourage you to join me. I'm building my legacy tonight. This part of my passion is finding purpose in my life, encouraging all of us to become sages and prophets in our own time and bring up humanism as a philosophic solution to the world's problems. So that's crucial, to integrate not only your personal life and how short that may be, and preparation for will and trusts and, an executor of your estate. And prepare now. We're giving books away to different kind of libraries. You can imagine the things that you have in your house that you can't move to a senior home. So it's time to prepare as of tomorrow with tonight's encouragement. And this is a great book, and it's probably in most libraries. And it's well worth reading. I brought a couple other books. Fruitful Aging, another encourager to have us not be bystanders and just dote on the grandchildren and have a close family, but be like Moses, ambassadors to our own day, like Sherwin Wine was. And we all can make a contribution, even if we just bring it up casually, that we need some kind of humanism to build a live and let live society where we won't have wars and killing, and where we can get along. We get along reasonably well in Detroit, which is something to be appreciated given the difficulties of the city that we grew up in. So we've got some positive things and trends that are making the Detroit future look promising, with the new mayor who wants to partner with the universities and help the neighborhoods that have been overlooked while we rebuilt downtown and the cultural center. Yes. Okay, how's that? Is that better? Okay.
Does that move a little closer to you?
Yeah, and I'll try to lean in on it.
Yeah, lean in.
Here's another book, Living the Second Half of Your Life on Purpose. And the simple way to do that, quite frankly, is simply to live each day with gratitude. Therefore, you don't have to fear death. You can live every day with thanks, and you'll be able to notice things and have an attitude of gratitude. So I would like to just talk about aging and saging based on Zalman Schachter's book, with a little nod to an article from the Times. To age well, staying positive helps. So I use the phrase hope, focus hope, optimism, and love. That will get you through almost anything, including your departure. And we want to make a sweet death for our loved ones, because we were the ones, the survivors, who will suffer the departure of a parent or a brother, sister, or a dear friend. So we are the ones that grieve, the survivors. The dying person manages to get that job done. And often it can be merciful. I remember a member of the men's group here at Temple who walked the dog and fell dead on somebody's front lawn, and that was the end of it. Now that's a lot better than having a stroke and be half paralyzed. So we can pray for that or hope for that. In any case, I want to just give you something to reflect on. I have a great deal of enthusiasm for this because it seems to be my second career, is to bring optimism and hope and love to a pessimistic era that we seem to have stepped into. But Natan in our men's group raised a question of concern about the Jewish community's survival at the end of the century, and that provoked an optimistic and hopeful response from me. That I wasn't pessimistic about the Jewish future, I was optimistic about the Jewish future, and that the Jewish community's diversity enrich the breadth and world contribution of the Jewish community in medicine, in science, and in technology, and in business, in religion, and in values. So that's a very, very valuable world contribution. And so no one should be pessimistic or anxious about the Jewish community when we depart and the grandkids take over. but would be good for the grandparents here to encourage their kids to be good parents, to help the Gen Z people get through AI and a loss of job market. And they'll have to become more flexible and more survivalist and more entrepreneurial and more humble and live a little lighter, buy used clothing and generally save a little money so you have $500 somewhere in your universe to cover emergencies. So approaching elderhood with grace, saging not aging, is dedicated to peace, brotherhood, forgiveness, and love. And how do you feel about aging? What do you look forward to? What do you fear? What current activities give your life meaning? What is your ultimate purpose? For me, it's embracing humanism. Humanism is part of the temple's mission. And so we are already prophets in our own time. We're ahead of our time by being humanists. We want a world where the humans treat each other with respect, kindness, love, and do unto your neighbor what you would have done unto yourself. That's got to be a universal value that comes across of the world's great religions. We're supposed to be kind to each other and find a way to live and let live. If we can live with Ohio State, we ought to be able to live with almost anybody. Okay. So how do you feel about your wealth or your health or your spiritual growth? I mean, I could rattle off a half a dozen worries that I have about my health. I'm less concerned about my wealth, and I'm working on my self-created spirituality. So even though we're in a secular temple, it still allows us to develop our values. And there was a great Indian Swami who had a book, Sure Ways for Success in Life, and he spoke about cultivating your virtues and eradicating your negative qualities. So you can be a spiritual secularist. The Unitarians have been good at that. You can be a Unitarian pagan. You can be whatever you damn want to be in a Unitarian church. And you create it for yourself. So all of us have had an eclectic journey to be here together tonight. And so there's room for you to be heartful and kind and cultivate your values. And how are we becoming a spiritual elder, a mentor, a giver, a lover? What can we do to build our legacy? I want to start with a question. What do you think when you hear the word aging? For most of us, the images that come to mind are not flattering. Decline, loss, irrelevance, a slow fade from the center of life. We live in a culture obsessed with youth, its energy, beauty, promise. So aging becomes something to fight, to hide, to delay. But what if we've been thinking about this all wrong? What if aging isn't a descent, but an ascent? Not a diminishing, but a deepening. What if the years ahead of us hold not just survival, but the possibility of becoming something we could never have been in our youth? This is the promise of what the late Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi called spiritual eldering, the journey from aging into saging. He wrote about it in a book which I treasure, and he led workshops and trained others to lead. It's a reframe so profound that it doesn't just change how we grow old, it changes how we live right now. Or to put it in very simple terms, we need to live each day with gratitude and each day with thanks. So the fact that we all got here tonight together is a very good moment for us to re-examine our own lives and see how we can build up our life legacy and become, literally prophets in our own time. My talk tonight sincerely is hoping to inspire you, to inspire all of us right here, right now, tonight. This life review was a major component of Rabbi Zalman's workshops, the practice of forgiveness. I cannot overstate how important this is. To become a sage, you must travel light. You cannot carry decades of resentment, bitterness, and old grievances into the work of wisdom keeping. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning what was wrong. It doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the grip that old wounds have on your present self. It means choosing freedom over the poison of perpetual grievance. Self-forgiveness is often the hardest to achieve. We must make peace with our own failures, our missed opportunities, the harm we cause even when we didn't mean to. Without self-forgiveness, we cannot fully inhabit the wisdom we've gained because we're still fighting with who we used to be. And the practice of contemplation helps this. I mean the cultivation of inner stillness, the capacity to be present. The capacity to be present, that's so crucial. It allows you to avoid trouble and avoid causing little irritations that if you're not under self-control, you can explode on somebody over a minor thing. So that's a crucial aspect of it. And to listen deeply, to access the quiet knowing that lies beneath the noise of the mind. This might take the form of meditation, prayer, time in nature, simple silence. The form matters less than the intention, to create space for something deeper than our ordinary thoughts to emerge. Contemplative practice does something essential for the sage. It develops witnessing awareness. Witnessing awareness. I was in a little coffee shop and I was wearing some buttons. And this friend of mine came in the door and said, "You shouldn't be wearing the buttons, not in this cafe." And I took the buttons off and put it in my pocket and thanked him. Now, there is a nonviolent response to a provocation that was looking for a little debate. So a lot of times we overreact to minor irritations that are relatively not the bombing of Gaza or anything super duper, but just little things that trigger us because of how we're built, the nature of our minds. So we just have to be contemplative in our practice. It does something essential for the sage. It develops witnessing awareness, the ability to observe your own experience without being completely identified with it. This is the foundation of equanimity and non-reactivity. So I took the buttons off and put it in my pocket and thanked him. So I was non-reactive to the provocation. So if we could practice that with the children, the grandchildren, friends and relatives, that could make a big difference. And non-reactivity, the calm presence that allows a sage to hold space for others even in a difficult situation. The practice of mentoring. Saging is completed in relationship. We become sages by offering what we've learned. Humanism will evolve. And why don't we go look for some new philosophy in this world to unite the world, to unite humanity, to see that our evolution is going to have a happy ending, not a disastrous ending. And doesn't require a formal program, though those can be valuable. It might mean genuinely present to a younger person. It might mean telling stories to young people in ways that carry wisdom without lecturing. It might mean volunteering. There are practices that are central to the journey from aging to saging. The first is life review, the deliberate, systematic process of looking back over your life, not with nostalgia or regret, but with the intention of enhancing wisdom. You might do this through journaling, through conversation with a trusted friend or therapist, through a structured exercise designed for the purpose. The goal is to identify the threads of meaning that run through your experience. What lessons did you learn? What patterns repeat? What were the turning points? What did they tell you about what matters most? What matters most at this stage of our lives? You know, how do we complete our lives and get a will and a trust and somebody to handle our estate if we're the last living member of the family? And also to give away your furniture and your books as you move to a senior housing project and out of your dear home. So we need to gradually give away what we can give away early and have a systematic preparation that everyone in this room could begin this weekend to take a couple steps in that direction rather than wait till the last minute when the chaos will exist. So, that's practical and something every one of us should be working on. I've just started working on it, and it's not easy. I've given away hundreds of books, and gee whiz, Gail and I have talked about giving the furniture to some kind of a company up in Pontiac. So we can't take the furniture into a senior home. If you see those 1-bedrooms or the 2-bedroom homes, they're very small, and you can't take your house into a senior. You can't even take it to our dear place up in Novi, Fox Run. We've got a lot of our members of the congregation at Fox Run. Life Review transforms random experiences into coherent narrative. It helps you see your life not as a series of disconnected events, but as a story with themes, with purpose, with direction. It crucially prepares you to share that story in ways that might benefit others. Saging is not a solitary achievement. The sage takes what they've learned and offers it in service to their families, their communities, to the generations to come after them. Just what we are doing here tonight. Yes, and don't forget, this whole process rests on the congregations of secular humanistic Judaism. So we are a core group of this congregation, and this world needs some new philosophy, some peaceful thinking. But saging goes deeper. It's not just about passing on skills or resources. It's about passing on meaning. It's about helping others navigate the questions that matter most. How do we live well? How do we face suffering? How do we find purpose? How do we die? Traditional cultures understood this instinctively. Elders were story keepers, counselors, ceremonial leaders. They held the long view, the futurist view. There's something called the World Future Society. They have a magazine called The Futurist. Very positive group. They're optimistic about the future. And they hold a long view, a memory of what had been tried and what worked. They were the continuity that held communities together across time. That's why elders were treated with respect across cultures. To the extent that it has been diminished, its absence is one of the great undiagnosed problems in modern life. We've been somewhat marginalized and been encouraged to sit home and buy Prevagen, and work on strengthening our thinking and our memory and things of that sort. We've been reduced to bystanders, and we have a lot of wisdom here, and we should use it to help the kids and the grandkids and our neighbors and friends, and join things that you feel passionate about. It may be quite diverse in this audience, but engage with the rest of your life. Don't hold back. How do we make this transition? What does the inner work look like? Something remarkable happens. The sage develops earned wisdom, not wisdom from books, but wisdom from lived experience, reflected upon and understood. The sage has shifted from ego to soul. In the first half of life, ego is necessary. It helps us complete, achieve, build, protect ourselves and our families. There's nothing wrong with healthy ego. It's essential equipment for navigating the world. But the sage recognizes that the ego is not the whole story. There's a deeper self underneath. Call it the soul, the true self, the witness, whatever language resonates. The sage learns to hold the ego more tightly or lightly, to act from a place of greater depth and less reactivity. The shift changes everything. The sage becomes less defensive, less driven by fear, less attached to being right. He or she develops transcendence, a natural movement towards connectedness, meaning, and acceptance that emerges in healthy aging. And a sage becomes a transmitter of wisdom. Age alone does not make someone wise. We all know people who have lived many years but have not grown, who are petty, fearful, and closed-minded at 80 as they were at 40. Longevity is not the same as wisdom. A sage is something different. A sage is someone who has done the inner work of harvesting the meaning of their life experience, making it available to themselves, to others, to the future, to a humanistic future. If we had a humanistic future, people would change their heart and think from the heart. Be kinder and more loving, more hopeful and more optimistic. And that would make the rest of our life a great deal easier. If you could just take the old Detroit group called Focus Hope, and they named their group that in the darkest moments of Detroit's difficulties 10, 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. And so they're still with us. And I have a bumper sticker on the back of my car with the black and white fingers touching. So this is something we need to, we've had that in the prayers tonight. Did you notice the word hope was present in the prayers tonight? So that's an important value. A sage is something different. A sage is someone who has done the inner work of harvesting the meaning from their life experience, making it available to themselves, to others, to the future. Let me break that down into 3 dimensions. A sage has cultivated self-knowledge. Sages have looked honestly at their own lives, triumphs and failures, moments of courage and moments of cowardice. They have done what Carl Jung called shadow work, confronting parts of themselves they'd rather not see, integrating what they've learned, making peace with their own complexity. This isn't easy. It requires a willingness to sit with regret, to grieve what cannot be changed, to forgive both others and oneself. But through this process, parents and loved ones die, health is challenged, the roles that defined us fall away, the roles dissolve who we are underneath them. This is the crisis of meaning. Not what should I do with my life? That's part of it. But the deeper question is, who am I now? What is my life for? Stop and think about that for a minute. Aside from kids and grandchildren, and maybe some grandparents still alive, brothers and sisters, but what is our life for? The family ties are not quite as tight as they were in our grandparents' or great-grandparents' era. The little villages have grown into gigantic cities that make community more difficult and more challenging. So just think about that. What is the rest of your life for? How do you want to dedicate it? It can be modest. It can be right with the kids and the grandkids and the neighbors. And it can be rather ambitious, like Moses getting the 10 Commandments. So if you think of Moses for a minute, maybe we can invite him here some night, and he could offer a little commentary on the 10 Commandments, which are hard to live by. But without a framework for this transition, many people experience what can be called spiritual emergency. Depression rates climb, isolation increases, the sense of purposelessness can be devastating. But here's the crucial insight. The crisis is not a sign that something has gone wrong. It's an invitation. It's the soul's way of saying, first half of your life is about building an identity. The second half is about discovering who you really are and what you can offer. The path from aging to saging begins when we accept this invitation. And how many of you would raise your hands and say you're ready to accept the invitation, which requires a change of mind, letting go of this culture of pessimism and being a light on the path. Or as the yoga people say, I see the light in you as part of the light in me. The phrase from India is namaste. So if we see each person as a good soul that has some good, that can shift our approach to them, and we can be much kinder and friendlier. So the key is intentionality. Sage doesn't always wait to be asked. The sage creates opportunities to share wisdom while remaining humble enough to know they're still learning too. Why the world needs sages now. Let us shift now from the personal to the collective, because I believe this isn't just about individual fulfillment. I believe our society desperately needs people who are willing to become sages. Look around at the challenges we face: climate change, political polarization, unraveling of shared truth, trust in our institutions, economic inequality, which has gotten worse, rather dramatically worse, in the last 20 years. Technology is advancing faster than our ability to use them well. I mentioned AI and the Gen Z. That's the grandchildren. If the AI takes all the white collar and blue collar jobs, the grandchildren are not going to, the grandkids are not going to have the kind of ability to buy a house or get a big paycheck or, a great job after graduating from U of M, things like that. So, we just have to go back to simple living and high thinking. That's the Emersonian values of the 19th century. Simple living, living light, living modestly, but high thinking, aspirational thinking, idealism. Look at the challenges we face. And these are not problems that can be solved by cleverness alone. They require exactly the qualities that saging develops: long-term thinking, the ability to hold complexity without collapsing into oversimplification, the capacity to remain calm in crisis, the wisdom that comes from having seen cycles before. But more than that, we face a crisis of meaning that runs through all generations. Young people are struggling with anxiety, depression, and purposelessness at unprecedented rates. The old frameworks of meaning, religious tradition, civic institutions, stable careers, these are all at risks for the grandkids. Have been weakened for many. People are searching for guidance on how to live. And that's where our job comes in. We can offer guidance on how to live. You can live a little simpler and live a little bit more humbly. And still have a good time. It's still possible, as long as there's a little wine out in the parlor after this, So many people are searching for guidance on how to live. This is precisely what sages offer. Not answers. The world is too complex for anyone to have all the answers, but presence. If you live every day with gratitude, you have presence. The living demonstration that it's possible to navigate life's difficulties with grace. The assurance that comes from witnessing someone who has been through challenges and emerged with their humanity intact. The traditional societies had a word for this: elderhood. Not just being old, but taking up the responsibility of elder, of guide, of witness, of keeper of the long view. We have millions of people entering their later years right now. Demographic shift is profound. What would it mean if even a fraction of them embrace saging as their calling? What would it mean for families if grandparents saw their role not just as babysitters or check writers, but as wisdom keepers, storytellers, moral anchors? What would it mean for organizations if retiring leaders didn't walk away but stayed connected as mentors, as institutional memory, as counselors for those coming up behind them? What would it mean for our politics if we had a respected voice of elders calling us back to civility, long-term thinking, to remembrance of what we've survived before and how we did it? And I believe it would be profound. It would be shared by optimism with the temple and maybe grow the temple. We could become, a hopeful, positive, shining star. And the sage's relationship to mortality, there's one more dimension of saging I must address, because it's impossible to talk honestly about this journey without talking about death. One of the great gifts of the sage is his or her relationship with mortality. Gail and I went to 2 death cafes, and it wasn't being lectured to. They were facilitating the cafe. what's on your mind around death? What are your profound thoughts on it? What do you need to share? Taking the taboo away from death so we can embrace it and let it be helpful to us. And as I mentioned earlier, the grieving people are the ones who are alive to grieve. The departed one has gone to a sweet reward somewhere. So we need to keep that in mind. It is we who are the ones that want to have sweet memories of a loved parent or brother, sister, so we can praise them at their funeral and highlight the good things they did. That's the only thing we need a funeral for. To put a positive spin on a funeral would be a wonderful shift of the culture. In youth, death is an abstraction, something that happens to other people far away in time. As we age, it becomes increasingly real. We lose parents, friends, peers. We face our own health scares. We begin to feel the finite nature of our time in ways we couldn't before. This can be terrifying, and our culture generally encourages us to avoid thinking about it, to stay busy, stay distracted, keep fighting. But the sage takes a different path. The sage befriends mortality, not in a morbid way, but in a clarifying one. Awareness of death strips away what is trivial and reveals what is essential. It intensifies the preciousness of the present moment, the preciousness of this evening together. It motivates the completion of what needs completing, relationships that need healing, words that need saying, work that needs finishing, doing a will or a trust, or plans for a hospice or dying. The sage has made peace with mortality and offers a profound gift to everyone around them. The demonstration that death can be faced with dignity. A culture terrified of death, this is perhaps the most valuable teaching of all. So please finish your will or trust and find an estate manager and prepare for life completion to make time to help others. Now, let me choose by returning to where we started. Aging is not optional. If we are fortunate enough to live, we will grow old. The only question is how we will do it. We can do it in the mode of culture defaults, as a long defeat, a gradual loss of everything that once defined us, a slide into irrelevance and invisibility, or we can do it as an initiation, a deliberate journey into the depths of who we are, emerging with hard-won wisdom to offer the world that badly needs it. The choice is ours. It's a choice we can make at any age. You don't have to wait until you're 70 or 80 to begin the work. The practices of saging, life review, forgiveness, contemplation, mentoring can begin much earlier. What's required is a shift in consciousness, a willingness to see elderhood not as a decline but as an opportunity, a commitment to do the inner work the transformation requires, the courage to step into the role of sage in whatever way our circumstances allow. Zalman Schachter, the rabbi who gave the phrase spiritual eldering, was once asked what he wanted most people to understand about this teaching. He said, "I want them to know that they can become more." Think about that for a second. Now, if we could become more, we have tremendous potential. So that's pretty basic. More whole, more free, more wise, more loving, more present, more themselves than they have ever been. This promise of saging, not that aging will be easy, it won't. Not that loss won't hurt, it will. But that within and through it all, there is the possibility of becoming something extraordinary, a sage, a wisdom keeper, a blessing to all who know you, with hope, optimism, and loving presence. Let's find the courage to accept this invitation. And possibly, if you had 12 months to live, and your vitality would remain steady, how would you live those 12 months? What particular activities or projects will you have to undertake over the next 2 years or so in order to bring about the changes you want in the next 5 or 6 years? And this is all part of what we call building our strength, and know that peace from inside out is the first step. So you need to be an inner activist first. You need to change your mind. reframe how you're holding your life. And that's the essence of my message to you tonight. I would read you the Optimist Creed, but I've been told I shouldn't. And the Optimist Creed, they have Optimist clubs like Rotary and the Elks and things like that. So there's a Birmingham Optimists that I have got their creed, and I've spoken to them, and it's nice to speak to an optimistic group. So thank you very much, and I hope everyone here, is inspired and encouraged to kick out the jams, as they say. Okay, thank you. Okay, Rabbi. Yeah, thank you.
Are you certain about this aging not being an option business?
Thank you.
Maybe we could make it an option? Is there
Yes.
an option to make it an option? All right, so thank you so much. Thank you for all this. Very, very thoughtful. I think it gives us pause, because obviously we're all of a certain age, and this, I think, this is what we're living for, right? To teach the next generation. Thank you. All right, we're going to conclude with the Don Olam, and then, as I mentioned, Mike and Gail have sponsored tonight's Oneg Shabbat. And just before we do, I should let you know, Artemis II landed safely about 30 seconds ago. Adon Olam.
Adon Olam Ushir Adam Ohev Chaim B'Haolam Lo Ole B'Shir Shalom U'Ba'adam Nimzach Alom. Before our time the world began, and from that dawn our story ran. Through nature's law and life's design, we seek our meaning, yours and mine. No hand unseen directs our way, yet purpose grows with each new day. Through heart and thought, through joy and pain, we shape the good that will remain. Adon Olam, that song are we, our world steered by humanity. Our love of life stirs songs of peace. Within us all such streams increase. Adon Olam, Ushir Adam, Ohev Chaim B'Haolam, Lo Ole B'Shir Shalom, U'Ba'adam Nimzach Alom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.